Your mind is the most powerful tool you possess, and the quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your life. This fundamental truth lies at the core of Napoleon Hill's teachings. He firmly believed that everything begins in the mind. Whether you succeed or fail, feel confident or insecure, it all stems from the thoughts you allow to dominate your thinking. Controlling your thoughts is not simply about positive thinking. It's about consciously choosing what you focus on, what you dwell on, and what you allow to take root in your subconscious mind. The danger of unchecked thinking is that it operates by default. And when that happens, external circumstances, past conditioning, fear, and doubt will govern your life instead of your vision, purpose, and values. Most people drift through life without ever realizing how much power they give to their thoughts. They entertain ideas of failure, lack, rejection, fear, and limitation, often without even questioning their validity. They listen to the inner critic that says they're not good enough, not smart enough, or not worthy of success. Over time, these thoughts become beliefs, and those beliefs become reality. You act according to what you believe. So if you believe you're bound to fail, you'll approach your goals half-heartedly. If you believe you don't deserve happiness, you'll sabotage the things that bring you joy. This is the insidious nature of uncontrolled thinking. It builds invisible walls around your potential. Napoleon Hill emphasized that you become what you think about. The mind, especially the subconscious mind, doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. It accepts whatever message is repeated and emotionally charged. If you constantly dwell on thoughts of worry and failure, your subconscious will act as if those thoughts are commands. It will guide your behavior in subtle but powerful ways to match the dominant narrative you've allowed to form. If, however, you consistently focus on growth, strength, courage, and possibility, your mind will begin to align with those energies, opening doors to opportunities you previously couldn't see. Learning to control your thoughts begins with awareness. You have to start noticing what you're thinking throughout the day. Not in a judgmental way, but in an observant one. Catch yourself in the act of negativity. When you feel stressed, anxious, or discouraged, pause and ask yourself, what thought triggered this feeling? More often than not, you'll find that the root of your emotional state is a thought you accepted as truth without ever questioning it. And once you see that, you can begin to challenge and change it. Awareness gives you the space to choose a different thought, one that empowers instead of weakens you. Hill also advocated for the use of intentional thinking, focusing your mind deliberately on what you want, rather than what you fear. This is not simply about wishful thinking. It's about training the mind to work for you, instead of against you. Intentional thinking means deciding each day what kind of mindset you will adopt. Will you dwell on obstacles, or will you search for solutions? Will you focus on what's lacking, or on what's possible? Every time you choose to redirect your focus, you're strengthening your mental muscles. Over time, this practice rewires your brain to think in ways that support your goals. One of the most powerful tools Hill recommended to aid in controlling your thoughts was the practice of daily affirmations and autosuggestion. By repeatedly feeding your mind with positive, purposeful, and empowering messages, you begin to override the old programming of fear, self-doubt, and limitation. These affirmations are not magic words. They are statements of intention. When spoken with emotion and consistency, they begin to shift your internal dialogue. They become the new foundation upon which your beliefs are built. And once your beliefs change, your habits, your choices, and your outcomes begin to change as well. Another method for mastering your thoughts is through visualization. Hill believed that whatever you consistently visualize in your mind will eventually manifest in your reality, provided you back it with faith and action. When you visualize your goals, your dreams, and your ideal self, you're giving your mind a target. You're telling it, this is where I'm going. This is who I'm becoming. The more clearly and emotionally you visualize your future, the more your mind begins to seek out the people, resources, and opportunities that align with that vision. But it's not enough to simply insert positive thoughts. You must also uproot the negative ones. This is where self-discipline comes in. Just as you wouldn't allow weeds to overrun your garden, you must not allow toxic thoughts to take hold in your mind. Every time you catch yourself thinking something self-defeating, you must stop and replace it with something that aligns with your purpose and your values. This is a daily battle, and it requires vigilance, but the rewards are profound. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. Eventually, controlling your thoughts becomes second nature. It's also important to understand that your thoughts are influenced by your environment. If you constantly expose yourself to negativity through media, pessimistic people, or chaotic surroundings, your mind will absorb those influences. Hill taught that you must protect your mind like you would protect your most valuable asset. Surround yourself with people who uplift you, content that educates and inspires you, and environments that support your mental clarity and focus. Your mind reflects whatever it is immersed in most often. So be intentional about what you allow into your mental space. Lastly, controlling your thoughts requires a strong why. When you know what you want and why you want it, you're more motivated to stay focused and disciplined in your thinking. Your why becomes your anchor. It keeps you grounded when doubts arise. It fuels your commitment to growth, even when it's uncomfortable. It reminds you that every thought you entertain is either moving you closer to your goals or pulling you away from them. With a compelling purpose, you're more likely to think with intention, speak with conviction, and act with confidence. Would you like me to expand the second keynote as well? Practicing daily mental discipline means developing the habit of guiding your thoughts and emotions intentionally, rather than allowing them to be shaped by outside influences or momentary moods. Napoleon Hill believed that success is a matter of control, first over the mind, and then over one's actions. This control must be exercised consistently, not occasionally. The mind is like a muscle, and daily mental discipline is the training process that strengthens it. Without daily training, the mind becomes susceptible to laziness, fear, distraction, and negativity. A disciplined mind, on the other hand, becomes an asset that enables you to pursue your goals with clarity, focus, and resilience, no matter what obstacles arise. One of the first components of daily mental discipline is beginning each day with intentional thought. Many people wake up and immediately reach for their phones, or start reacting to the demands of the world. This sets the tone for a reactive day. But when you train yourself to begin the day with a few moments of quiet, focus, and self-direction, you take back control. Hill advocated for starting each day with a clear statement of purpose, an affirmation or a review of one's chief definite aim. By doing so, you impress your goal into your subconscious mind first thing in the morning, when it is most receptive. This practice strengthens your inner resolve and keeps your goal at the forefront of your consciousness throughout the day. Mental discipline also means learning to manage your emotional responses. When someone angers you, disappoints you, or challenges your beliefs, the undisciplined mind reacts automatically, often with irritation or defensiveness. The disciplined mind pauses, reflects, and chooses the response that aligns with long-term values, not short-term impulses. Napoleon Hill was clear about the importance of emotional mastery. He understood that people who fail to control their emotions become slaves to their circumstances. To break free, you must develop the discipline to observe your emotions without being ruled by them. This requires practice. daily awareness, reflection, and the willingness to change habitual responses that no longer serve you. Discipline also applies to your internal dialogue. The things you say to yourself about yourself have a lasting effect on your confidence, motivation, and performance. Many people have developed a habit of negative self-talk, criticizing themselves for mistakes, doubting their worth, and reinforcing limiting beliefs. Practicing daily mental discipline involves identifying these patterns and replacing them with empowering alternatives. You must become your own greatest supporter, not your harshest critic. This doesn't mean ignoring your flaws, but rather committing to growth while speaking to yourself with the same encouragement and respect you would offer a trusted friend. A crucial part of mental discipline is the ability to focus. In a world full of noise and distraction, this is more important than ever. Every time you get pulled into a distraction, social media, mindless entertainment, or irrelevant conversations, you dilute your mental energy. Hill taught that concentration is the foundation of achievement. He encouraged people to develop the power of focused attention by setting aside time each day for uninterrupted work toward a definite purpose. Even just an hour of deep focus each day can create incredible momentum. This means turning off distractions, saying no to interruptions, and training your mind to stay with a task until it is complete. Focus is not something you either have or don't have. It's something you build through repetition and effort. Another powerful aspect of daily mental discipline is reflection. Taking time at the end of each day to review your thoughts, choices, and actions can be transformative. Hill believed in the value of self-analysis. By asking yourself what you did well, where you slipped, and what you can do better tomorrow, you begin to consciously guide your development. This reflection turns each day into a lesson. Over time, these lessons compound, and you become more self-aware, more intentional, and more effective. This habit of reflection requires honesty, humility, and the desire to grow. It prevents you from drifting and keeps you aligned with your higher goals. Mental discipline is also about guarding your mind. Just as you wouldn't allow garbage to be dumped into your living room, you must be vigilant about what you allow into your mental space. The books you read, the conversations you engage in, the media you consume, all of it leaves an imprint. Hill warned against the influence of negative environments and associations. He understood that your mental state is shaped by what you are consistently exposed to. Practicing discipline means choosing inputs that elevate your thinking, challenge your limitations, and inspire your action. It means being selective about what you watch, read, and listen to. Not out of fear, but out of commitment to protecting your mental garden. One of the most overlooked areas of mental discipline is patience. In a world addicted to instant results, cultivating patience is a radical act. Hill emphasized the power of persistence, but persistence requires patience. A disciplined mind understands that great things take time. It doesn't demand immediate success, but rather commits to steady progress. It endures setbacks, learns from failure, and stays the course. When you practice patience, you become less reactive, less discouraged by temporary obstacles, and more resilient in the face of adversity. Patience is not passivity. It's the strength to keep going when results are not yet visible. Daily mental discipline also includes the practice of gratitude. While it may seem unrelated to achievement, Hill recognized that a grateful mind is a powerful mind. Gratitude keeps you grounded, focused on abundance rather than lack. It trains your brain to see opportunities instead of problems. Starting or ending each day by writing down a few things you are thankful for is a simple but profound way to shift your mindset. Gratitude fuels optimism, and optimism fuels action. When you approach life from a place of appreciation, your energy changes. You become more attractive to success, more open to possibilities, and more resilient during challenges. Ultimately, mental discipline is a lifestyle. It is not something you do once in a while, when you feel motivated. It is something you commit to daily, especially when you don't feel like it. It means showing up for your mind the way an athlete shows up for training. It means building habits, routines, and rituals that reinforce your purpose, keep you focused, and guard your inner state. Napoleon Hill believed that success begins within, and that mastering your mind is the first step toward mastering your life. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Negative self-talk is one of the most destructive forces in the human experience. It begins subtly and often unconsciously, through quiet, internal messages like, "I'm not good enough," "I can't do this," or "this always happens to me." Over time, these internal whispers become beliefs, and those beliefs begin to shape decisions, habits, and ultimately, results. Napoleon Hill emphasized that our thoughts are powerful vibrations that create the circumstances of our lives. If our self-talk is filled with doubt, fear, and limitation, it becomes nearly impossible to manifest confidence, success, or fulfillment. Eliminating negative self-talk is not a single decision, but a process of consistent mental vigilance, self-awareness, and inner correction. Many people have developed the habit of criticizing themselves for every mistake. They hold on to failures as if they define their identity. One bad decision turns into a lifelong label. A missed opportunity becomes a permanent story of inadequacy. This inner critic, if left unchecked, becomes more punishing than any external failure could ever be. Napoleon Hill taught that what the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But the opposite is also true. What the mind fears, doubts, and rejects, it repels. The practice of eliminating negative self-talk begins with recognizing its presence. Often, we repeat the same destructive thoughts dozens of times a day without even noticing. It takes focused awareness to catch these moments in real time and challenge their validity. One of the most effective tools in neutralizing negative self-talk is to question its source. Where did these beliefs come from? Are they based on truth or assumption? Are they rooted in your own experience? Or were they inherited from someone else's opinion? As Hill frequently pointed out, most people operate under the influence of false beliefs picked up during childhood or shaped by society. These beliefs are rarely examined, yet they guide everything. A disciplined mind begins to interrogate those voices. Is this thought helpful? Is it accurate? Would I speak this way to someone I love? When you bring negative thoughts into the light of conscious scrutiny, they often dissolve under their own irrational weight. Affirmations, which Napoleon Hill strongly advocated, are one of the most effective ways to reprogram negative self-talk. Instead of saying, "I can't," train yourself to say, "I am learning how to." Instead of, "I always fail," begin affirming, "I am improving every day." These aren't just fluffy feel-good phrases. When repeated with emotion and belief, affirmations create new neural pathways in the brain. Over time, your internal narrative starts to shift. You begin to expect success rather than fear failure. You become your own encourager rather than your own saboteur. The words you speak to yourself shape your attitude, and your attitude shapes your actions, which ultimately determine your outcomes. Another powerful tool for eliminating negative self-talk is visualization. When you consistently see yourself succeeding in your mind's eye, you create a mental blueprint that your subconscious mind begins to follow. Hill emphasized that the subconscious cannot distinguish between a real experience and one that is vividly imagined. If you constantly visualize failure, rejection, or disappointment, your subconscious will guide you toward those outcomes. But if you visualize confidence, achievement, and happiness, your mind begins working to bring those images into reality. Visualization, combined with positive self-talk, becomes a potent formula for transformation. It shifts your focus from what you fear to what you desire. It's also critical to understand that negative self-talk thrives in environments of comparison. When you constantly measure yourself against others, especially in the age of social media, you open the door to feelings of inadequacy. You see someone else's highlight reel and compare it to your behind the scenes struggles. This reinforces beliefs like, I'm not doing enough, I'm behind, or I'll never catch up. Hill would urge you to focus on your own path, your own pace, and your own goals. The only true comparison is between who you were yesterday and who you are becoming today. When you eliminate external benchmarks and start measuring your growth internally, your self-talk becomes more compassionate, more motivating, and more aligned with progress. Journaling is another powerful way to identify and eliminate negative self-talk. Writing your thoughts out on paper reveals patterns that often go unnoticed in the business of daily life. You may discover recurring themes of doubt, blame, fear, or regret. Once those patterns are visible, you can begin to rewrite them. For example, if you notice you often write, I never finish anything, challenge that story. Look for examples, however small, where you followed through. Remind yourself that the story isn't set in stone. Every day you have the chance to tell a new story, one that supports the version of yourself you're working to become. Eliminating negative self-talk also involves adjusting your language. The words you use, even casually, reinforce mental patterns. Phrases like, I'm just not that smart, I'm always tired, or that's just my luck, may seem harmless, but they program your mind to believe them. Start replacing those statements with more empowering language. Instead of, I'm not good at this, say, I'm working on getting better at this. Instead of, I never get a break, say, I'm creating opportunities every day. This subtle shift in language rewires your brain over time. You stop affirming your limitations and begin affirming your potential. Self-compassion plays a huge role in this journey. Many people believe that harsh self-talk will keep them disciplined and productive, but it often has the opposite effect. Harshness breeds shame, and shame leads to paralysis or overcompensation. Compassion, on the other hand, creates space for change. It acknowledges mistakes without turning them into personal failures. It says, I made a mistake, but I'm still learning. Hill understood the importance of self-encouragement, especially in the face of adversity. When you treat yourself with compassion, you create a mindset where growth is possible. You become more likely to take risks, learn from setbacks, and persevere when things get hard. Surrounding yourself with positive influences also helps eliminate negative self-talk. The people you spend time with influence the way you speak to yourself. If you're around critics, pessimists, or people who constantly complain, their voices can become your internal dialogue. But when you spend time with people who uplift, encourage, and inspire, your self-talk begins to mirror that energy. Hill spoke frequently about the importance of a positive environment. Choose friends, mentors, books, and media that align with the mindset you want to cultivate. Protect your mind the way you would protect a valuable asset, because it is. Eliminating negative self-talk is not about ignoring reality or pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing to interpret life in a way that empowers you rather than defeats you. It's about understanding that setbacks are temporary, that failure is feedback, and that you are never defined by your worst moments. When you change your self-talk, you change your emotional state. When you change your emotional state, you change your behavior. And when you change your behavior consistently, you change your entire life. Napoleon Hill knew that the first battle we all face is internal. And once we win that battle, everything else becomes possible. Mental discipline is the cornerstone of every lasting transformation. It's not flashy, and it doesn't yield instant results, but it is the foundation upon which all success is built. Napoleon Hill understood that the mind, when undisciplined, becomes the greatest obstacle to personal achievement. It gets pulled in every direction by distractions, temptations, fears, and impulses. But when the mind is trained, it becomes a powerful tool that works in harmony with your goals. Practicing mental discipline is about consistently directing your thoughts toward purpose, keeping your emotional reactions under control, and cultivating the ability to focus despite external chaos. It's a skill that can be developed, and once mastered, it gives you an undeniable edge in life. In the age of constant notifications, social media scrolling, and endless distractions, mental discipline is more necessary than ever. Most people live in a state of reactivity. They wake up and immediately hand over their attention to their phones, emails, or to-do lists. By the time they realize it, the day is half over, and their minds have been hijacked by other people's agendas. Mental discipline starts with taking back control of your attention. It means making a conscious decision about what deserves your focus and what doesn't. It requires boundaries. Saying no to distractions isn't about deprivation. It's about dedication. Every time you choose focus over mindless scrolling, you're training your brain to obey your will rather than your impulses. One of the greatest forms of mental discipline is the ability to hold a thought of purpose in your mind for an extended period. Hill wrote that all success begins with a definite purpose held firmly in the mind. But most people drift. They set goals, get excited for a few days, then fall off track when it gets hard or boring. The disciplined mind doesn't operate this way. It reviews the goal daily. It visualizes the outcome repeatedly. It expects resistance and prepares for it. When obstacles arise, the disciplined mind doesn't run. It recalibrates and keeps moving forward. That's the mental toughness Napoleon Hill wrote about, the ability to endure emotional discomfort without surrendering the mission. Mental discipline also means learning how to respond rather than react. Emotional impulsivity, whether it's anger, anxiety, frustration, or doubt, can derail progress faster than any external obstacle. The undisciplined mind reacts immediately to every irritation, every slight, every inconvenience. But the trained mind pauses, it breathes, it evaluates. It chooses the most effective response, not the most emotionally satisfying one in the moment. Hill emphasized the power of self-control, not as a form of repression, but as a tool of mastery. To be mentally disciplined is to maintain your composure, even when things go wrong. It's about keeping your vision intact when the world feels chaotic around you. Another form of mental discipline is the regulation of internal dialogue. The thoughts you allow to dominate your internal landscape shape your beliefs and actions. When your mind is flooded with doubt, self-criticism, or fear, your actions reflect that mental environment. But through discipline, you can redirect those thoughts. When fear arises, you replace it with faith. When doubt whispers, you answer with affirmations of capability. This isn't wishful thinking, it's conscious programming. You become the gatekeeper of your mind, deciding what enters and what is rejected. As Hill taught, you have the power to control your mental attitude. And that power is what separates successful people from those who merely wish for success. Building mental discipline also involves consistency in habits. It's not just about managing thoughts and emotions in moments of crisis. It's about showing up every day, regardless of how you feel. The disciplined mind doesn't negotiate with laziness or excuses. It gets out of bed early, even when it's tired. It trains, studies, writes, builds, or practices daily, because it's not driven by emotion. It's driven by commitment. This kind of discipline compounds over time. Each day of consistent effort adds another brick to the foundation. Eventually, your mind comes to expect action. It stops resisting the hard work because that work has become your identity. This is how discipline turns into momentum, and then into mastery. Visualization is another powerful mental discipline that Hill endorsed. It requires focus, imagination, and belief. It's not just about seeing a goal once and hoping it happens. It's about mentally rehearsing your success over and over until it becomes so familiar that it feels inevitable. When you visualize with intensity and emotion, you condition your subconscious mind to align with your vision. This mental training reduces fear, builds confidence, and strengthens your emotional connection to your goal. But it only works with discipline. The mind must be guided toward the vision daily, not just when it's convenient or exciting. Mental discipline is also tested during failure and setbacks. That's when the voice of doubt gets loudest. The undisciplined mind internalizes failure. It believes that a failed attempt means personal inadequacy. The disciplined mind interprets failure as feedback. It asks, "What can I learn from this?" It refines the strategy and tries again. This resilience is not an accident. It's the result of a mind that has been trained to persevere, to resist discouragement, and to stay committed when the path becomes unclear. Hill emphasized that temporary defeat is not permanent failure unless it's accepted as such. Mental discipline gives you the strength to stand back up when most people quit. Reading, meditation, and solitude are practices that cultivate discipline as well. When you spend time in silence or immersed in focused reading, you're strengthening your attention span, your patience, and your ability to direct your mind toward constructive ideas. Meditation, especially, helps you become aware of your thoughts without becoming attached to them. It teaches you to observe, to let go, and to choose focus. Hill believed that concentrated thought was one of the most valuable skills a person could develop. In a world full of noise, the ability to direct your own attention has become a superpower. The disciplined mind also aligns itself with purpose. It doesn't chase trends or get seduced by shortcuts. It knows where it's going and why. This sense of purpose acts as an internal compass. It brings clarity to decisions and sharpens focus. You stop wasting time on what doesn't matter because your mind is aligned with what does. Discipline, then, is not about rigidity or perfectionism. It's about alignment. When your thoughts, actions, and goals are in harmony, there is power. You move with confidence because you're no longer fragmented. You've trained your mind to serve your highest values. Ultimately, practicing mental discipline means accepting full responsibility for your inner world. It's recognizing that while you may not control every external event, you always control your interpretation and your response. This is the essence of personal power. It's what Napoleon Hill taught over and over: the mind is the master key to success. Train it, discipline it, and it will open every door you desire. Let it drift, and it will lead you in circles. Discipline is freedom, because it gives you the ability to act on your goals instead of reacting to your fears.